Today we're going to look at driving your power wheelchair in a safe manner. If you are new to your power wheelchair or you're having difficulties crashing here and there, you want to reduce those crashes, then let's talk about it. I made a kind of a list, I went through kind of things that I worked through when I was learning how to use my power wheelchair. And one big thing is speed. Speed because of the environment you're in and the control you need to have on your power wheelchair. So, hold on. I'm going to draw something here. All right, so most of us have a dial on our power wheelchair. Most of us. Some of you who have complex power wheelchairs might have a screen instead of a dial. But the dial looks something like this. And you've seen it on your power wheelchair. And this dial is your friend. Okay? So usually people who have power wheelchairs, their power wheelchair usually goes 4 to 4.5 miles per hour. So I'm going to assume here that it goes 4.5, okay? All right, so it doesn't have any numbers, but I'm going to put some invisible numbers there. So speed is important because of control, just kind of like a car. If you go too fast, you're going to crash or bump into something. So why is my face so scared? So what you want to do when you're starting is to stay in kind of in this zone so that you have control over where you're going. When you start to feel more confident, you can go a little bit faster. So somewhere in that zone. And that is 2 to 2.5. And you want to make sure that you don't have a lot of objects around you. You want to make sure that you don't have a lot of people around you to be able to do a 2 to 2.5. Now we're going to talk about, these zones often. So we're gonna talk about corners. If you're reaching a corner, you want to slow down to a 1.5. You don't have to stop, but you have to really slow down and make sure there's nobody on the other side of the corner. We've talked about this before. When you're going uphill, you want to make sure that the hill is not overpowering the power wheelchair, because then it could flip backwards. So you want to make sure it's not too steep and go to about a 2.5. And you're going to hear me talk about 2.5. It's kind of like a safe area to drive. Sidewalks with a lot of holes and a lot of cracks. You really want to slow down to a 1.5 somewhere in that zone here. And you want to go around potholes. You don't want to hurl yourself into potholes and cracks. That could damage your power wheelchair. the frame or the wheels. So it's really not worth it. If you have to go onto the street, then go onto the street until you get to a safer area to drive. So as you can see, speed is key, really is key. When you have people around, you want to slow down to a 1.5 approximately. You really want to wait until, the coast is clear, per se. Objects around like tables and chairs and, things like that in the home or a conference center or a hotel or a restaurant, you really want to slow down to a 1.5 so you can get through just fine. Open spaces. Open spaces is where we can take off and do the 4.5. So let me put it here. So in open spaces, we can go as fast as we want. The maximum of 4.5. So, and we have to be careful. It could be grass, it could be sand, it could be just a parking lot. You can go 4.5. The issue is if there's any cracks or potholes, you want to make sure you're watching where you're going and slow down to a 2, to go around that pothole or that crack. Because a lot of times there's cracks in the parking lot and you don't want to, again, damage your power wheelchair or rattle yourself. So you want to make sure that you're going at a reasonable speed. And that requires practice. It really does. Let's talk about weather. Now, the speed doesn't have anything to do with weather unless you're trying to get out of the rain and under a roof. But the one thing you want to protect is this dial. You want to cover your dial area in the joystick with some kind of plastic bag to make sure it doesn't get wet. So that's the most vulnerable part of the power wheelchair is the dial and your joystick. So cover it with a plastic bag and get to the quickest roof that you can. If a power wheelchair gets wet, it might damage the motor and it could damage the joystick area. So let's say that's your joystick. so, so I think this makes sense. You really have to kind of get used to the different speeds and what is controllable, what is comfortable for you to be able to drive in a safe manner and not crash into something or crash into somebody or to crash into a pothole. Those kind of things you don't want to do, especially potholes because they can damage your frame of your power wheelchair or it can damage the wheels. And you don't want to do that. It's not necessary. You can go around the pothole or go onto the street if the sidewalk is just a disaster, which many times it can be. So you want to really take your power wheelchair in a safe area and protect it. But for weather, you really want to make sure that you protect it. If it's snowing like crazy and raining like crazy that day, you just stay inside. And you just wait until the next day. There is nothing so urgent for you to destroy your power wheelchair. There really isn't. So you can always wait. Always. You can reschedule. You can call the person and say, hey, it's raining too much. I can't do this. So you really want to wait. Do it the next day. So I'm hoping this dial makes sense because there's no numbers on our dial. So I usually drive around here. I'm in an institution, so there's a lot of people around. There's a lot of carts coming and going. There's, sometimes emergencies or whatever's going on. So I keep it at 2.5 is the speed I drive. I slow down to a 1.5 when I'm at a corner. And again, you're not going to see these numbers on your dial. I'm estimating, what those speeds are. So, but I think this is helpful, but usually when there's nobody around, I can use a 2. I can use a 2.5 is what I have it on. But I can slow down if something changes or people start coming into the area. I slow down so that it doesn't throw them off. The people I live with have walkers and canes and things like that. So I want to make sure I don't throw off their balance. So, and that's important. And I think that right now they're probably coming to clean my room. But I just wanted to get this in so that this is helpful, especially if you're new to your power wheelchair, especially if you're having trouble running into things. You want to slow down. All right. Any questions or anything that was helpful to you, let me know. And any tips that you might have in regards to driving your power wheelchair. Don't forget to watch the next video, and I'll see you in the next one.